published?
Yes.
Okay.
And then there was something else, I believe, on Friday, Dr. Knos, that alerted people to the online opportunity here and gave them the opportunity to submit their questions.
Yes, and let me just add, let me add to that, Kelly, that when Jeff created, is that my audio or is it because we're not all muting? I don't know. I keep getting some strange feedback. I want to make sure that everybody's hearing me okay. You hearing me? Okay, I'm getting nods. So just clarifying that when Jeff created that public notice and posted it, we obviously had no idea that we were not going to be in session and we were going to be practicing the social distancing that was ordered. So I did check with legal counsel and they said that that's understood and that's fair, that we didn't in that public notice mention an online meeting, as long as we posted and made all the availability to the public. And we've done that. We even notified the local media, the newspaper, and Josh has a YouTube. Are we up on, are we streaming now on YouTube, Josh?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so yeah, I think we're covered, Kelly. Thank you.
Okay. So we can go on to the next thing, the advertisement for bids. Right there. I've just kind of highlighted some items here as we want to go down. Just identifies what the project is. It says there will be one general contract bid, and as we mentioned in the previous session, there's going to be 5, now maybe 6 unit costs. Several of those have already have quantities that are stated and in the base bid, but 2 of those are unknown amounts. Could you scroll up just slightly, please? There you go. The work on the early site prep package, we have in the documents, and we'll have a full schedule as well coming up, is to be complete by August 1st with the anticipated start date of November. And that is based on if there is approval at your 20th board meeting for those bids. The original package here, we call it the early site prep package, and it is, they're doing clearing, demolition, relocation of utilities that are going to be in the way of the building. And this project, this early site prep package, is not just for the ops building, also for Performing Arts Center, auditorium addition, CTE expansion. So this first one includes the removal of the large pre-engineered metal building referred to as Drama South, and all of those associated footings. And this is to make it so all the surcharge can be brought in, as Joe discussed before, about letting it sit in accordance with the geotechnical report recommendations, a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks. And that's, so you're going to just see a big pile of dirt there for 6 to 8 weeks before anything could start. So liquidated damages in the amount of $500 a day, because it was important to get started in the fall on both of these projects. So that's why there's liquidated.
Sorry, I wish I could.
The bids are due Thursday, April 16th at 2 p.m. to the ERC.
Well, the meeting just started.
And I'm not sure that any in-person thing could be avoided there, so that will not be a Zoom meeting. They will deliver the bids, and we do need to read those out loud. We'll just all sit 6 feet apart. There is a bid security, 5% of their bid that they need to submit with the bids, and they cannot withdraw their bid for 45 days after the bid opening. There's a pre-bid meeting that we are going to have via Zoom. And if contractors are going to submit their questions, they need to email them ahead of time, and they also need to of their intent to participate in this meeting so that we can get them hooked up with the Zoom link.
Kelly, can I interject really quick before we get too far down? I just wanted to point out that Kelly and I talked extensively about liquidated damages, and just to be clear, I understand that Lewis Central in the past has typically not utilized liquidated damages. I believe probably because of the type of projects. I recommended and sought legal counsel. I've never done a project without liquidated damages, and I realized that these projects aren't necessarily students aren't depending upon them. For instance, we're not building a school building that has to open by the beginning of the school year. I understand that, but I still think that I've been aware of construction projects with school districts that you get into a back and forth with the contractor and things don't go so well, and the job just lasts and it lasts and it lasts, and you just can't close it out. So I felt, and being the board's representative in this, I just want to make sure the board agrees. I felt that it was important to have liquidated damages between council. We just decided that $500 a day seemed to be an appropriate amount. So just want to make sure the board is good with that, since that was a decision that I asked to be put in.
So in Iowa, you're not allowed to charge contractors for bid documents unless you refund it. And so we have a refundable deposit. The only reason we have any deposit is to keep people who have no stake in this type of work. And I'm going to use this as an example. There are people that maybe build casework and cabinets and whatnot. There isn't any of that in this early site prep package, but they will see these things, these opportunities come up online. They will order bid documents without even looking at what's in it. And so this at least makes them look at it if they have to put down a deposit and say, gee, I guess there's not any cabinets in that project. I don't need those after all. And it just helps to try and control the printing costs for the district. Okay, and then that shows right there where the plans will be available for viewing, and they will also be online on at least 2 or 3 of those locations as well.
Hey, Kelly,
so then-
Kelly, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
On that notice to proceed, is that going to need board approval, or can we just, I don't
No,
know, Eric, if we have to have a special board meeting to approve it, and you know what I'm saying?
no.
be a
The
board
notice to
item.
proceed for the contractor, no, you would need to approve the bids at your April 20th meeting. And then once the bids are approved, the bonds and insurance and all the signatures for the contracts. Once they've submitted all that, the contracts are fully executed by both parties, then we issue the notice to proceed. That starts the clock on these liquidated damages. Any other questions on this?
Thank you.
Just
Sure.
just in case I missed it, do we have, I remember you saying August for a completion and May for a start. Do we have it in actual days from the notice to proceed? Like 90 days, 120 days?
No, we do not.
Okay.
And that's largely because nobody knows how long it's going to take to get the contract signed.
Okay.
Anticipating May 4th, we have published that date as the potential start date, because it usually takes about 2 weeks from the time the bids are approved to get all the contracts and insurance and bonds in.
I have a question on, so this is just one general contract bid and it's for the site prep.
Correct.
It's also for removal of one of the old metal buildings.
Correct. The big one.
Okay. And so then we'll do the other building later. That would be a different bid.
Correct. The second building, well, the grounds maintenance
Right.
needs to stay operational for your school year. And then when the new operations center is to occupy, and that building gets torn down and the parking gets completed. And that we hope will happen like during the summer when the buses aren't running. So that's why it was very important to start this project in when we are, so that the construction for the buildings can start in the fall.
Okay. And it's probably a question from Jeff. Is there anything that we have stored in that building that we have to find other places for, or is it cleaned out?
Is he muted?
With the audio,
Yes,
There he is.
I'm sorry. What did I miss? I'm sorry.
I was just asking Jeff what's stored in that building we have to find other places for.
Gotcha.
are you talking? Okay, I'm sorry. Are you talking about the insurance building or the maintenance building?
The Drama South building.
No.
Okay.
Right. Jeff, first of all, Jeff, your audio is really not working. So if you could stay on mute and maybe use the chat option down at the bottom of your screen where you can type your answers, that may help. But when your audio comes on, I think we're all hearing the same thing. It's just not working right. But Amy, to your question, Doreen's not talking about the Drama South building. That's the one that will be demolished with this bid package.
Right.
But Doreen was talking about the maintenance,
Other building.
which will not be demolished with this bid package.
Okay. There's a fire outside and somebody was concerned and I got distracted. So I didn't mean to not sound like I was paying attention, but when somebody says fire, I double check.
That can be distracting, yeah.
A little bit. So sorry.
And Doreen,
I was talking about the building, the Drama South.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Have anything in there that we have to find another place for?
So Jeff, I will try to answer this for you, Jeff, and you can give me a nod if it's accurate. We've been working on that for quite some time. One of the user group meetings, I shouldn't say quite some time, maybe been about a month or so. One of the user group meetings, it was brought up and discussed that would be good to include in this bid package. Jeff has been working with Alan, the drama teacher, and we have stated that we will have storage units placed on site to hold anything that will not get pitched from that building. And there's a plan to have that cleared out by sometime in May, which Kelly and her team has said that would be an ample amount of time for then it to be demolished. So the answer ultimately, Doreen, is that there's a plan for that all to be handled.
Perfect, thanks.
Jeff, give me a thumbs up, Jeff.
We can't see his thumbs.
There we go. All right.
That is correct. Okay, so the next item is the form of contract, which is the AIA document. There you go. That's just a standard AIA document that has, for a lump sum payment is a stipulated sum. And again, we will be taking 5 separate unit costs. As a, for instance, I had already spoke about possibility of running into rubble when they're digging to reroute utilities or whatnot. So that's a unit price that would be in addition to the lump sum because it's an unknown. But there are 3 other unit costs that have a base bid amount that's already going to be included in the contract. One of those is construction fencing, for instance, because we're going to fence off this whole side that allows the operations to get in and around and behind and trash and everything else existing middle school, so that the construction vehicles can't get in that space. So right now we're carrying 1,000 lineal feet of construction fencing, and it will be 6-foot high chain link fence. So we'll be able to see where that's going to be when Lamper Nearson shows their drawings. You decide, gosh, we really would like this area fenced off too. It gives us a unit cost to add more fencing. Okay, let's go to the plans. Is there any questions on the contract? First of all, sorry. Gloss over that. It's a standard contract, that was same form of contract that we used on the Titan Hill project, for instance.
And there are no questions from the YouTube broadcast either.
But we do have participants, so we do have some folks that are tuned in.
Okay.
So do any of the board members have any questions? Okay, if you'd go on.
Okay, and if we could look at the drawings, there we go. So again, I think just to reiterate, the scope of this is to do early site prep package for both the operations building site and then also the behind the high school where the auditorium is going to be added, and also where the CTE expansion is going to be. So this drawing that's up on the screen here identifies the different areas. I don't know if I'm the only one that can't read any of that writing or if it's just fuzzy, but
Hieroglyphic.
the area A is up of course, by the high school. The area B is going to be it's just to the left. There you go. That's going to be where the future parking lot is going to be. That is not involved in this site prep. It does not involve surcharge. So we wanted to leave that route open for construction and circulation. And so that's going to be done with the high school project. And then the area C, of course, is the operations site.
I have a question on, we talked about the bike trail. Now, with the site project over by the high school, is that also going to be moved?
It's going to be rerouted some. The exact location needs to be confirmed, but on the high school drawings, which we don't have today here, the proposed route or rerouting of that is shown. That all probably needs to be confirmed there. You know, when we talk to the city about this, we'll need to look at both the bike routes. But it obviously has to get out away from where there's going to be construction. So it will be routed out. around as well.
Kelly, this is Joe. We do acknowledge the spots where it will be impacted, and as the city requested, we're beginning the coordination as of last week with starting with Mark Augustine, so that we can make sure, is it a detour, is it a closure? How do they want to communicate that to the public about our reroute? So we do show enough, and then we show a requirement to coordinate further with the city.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Will the contractor's access to that area be our drives? Or will they build or establish a construction road in the grass areas?
I think that they have a drawing that actually will show that they can discuss, Bob. So I'm gonna turn it over to Joe and Caleb to just go through the set here real quick and see if they can point out some highlights and remove, and in particular, construction fencing and what you anticipate construction vehicles.
Caleb, this is Joe. Caleb, I'm going to let you narrate as we move through these sheets. So starting on the sheet that's on everyone's screen, just kind of give a high level overview and then open it up to questions as we go sheet by sheet.
And there's only 10 sheets, so it won't take
We'll
long.
be brief. Yeah,
Not like a regular set of drawings.
correct. Hey, Caleb, are you there?
Sorry, my dog is running around behind us trying to get her out of here, so I can talk now. Okay, so this is the demolition plan for the early bid package for the Performing Arts and the CTE extensions. Essentially what's happening here is we're removing the asphalt that will go under the surcharge. We're also that's there, and that also is to the right, the hatched area. Correct, along with a couple of the access drives, kind of on the back side of the school there. There's a few trees that have to come out and some fencing along with this. We're going to be relocating a gas meter along with the trail. And then some of the utilities that have to be removed include that water line that will be rerouted around the future building footprint. Correct, right there. That about sums up this page. Okay, so now we're at area C, which is the ops center. And we are removing mainly utilities in this area, along with some trail and fencing and a few trees along the back of house. We are removing a little bit of the existing asphalt pavement. That's kind of the hatch that looks like plus symbols there. Yep. We're trying to keep as much of the gravel drive as we possibly can to try to keep this site a little bit cleaner for the summer and the start of next year as they're finishing their work. To answer some questions about contractor access, we are accessing adjacent to the drive. Yep, right in that area. We are not having them use the existing drive. They'll build a temporary gravel drive off of Harry Langdon, but still in our property frontage on Harry Langdon. We do have some construction fencing that will be put up in between the two accesses to try to limit crossover traffic from one to another. Currently, that's all we're showing, but we obviously have the option to add more now if anyone would like, or we will have that flexibility to get a unit price bid for future construction fencing. If anyone has any questions, feel free to chime in, or I'm just going to keep going here.
Just since we have a few viewers, would you mind going back to the previous page and explaining what utilities are going to be moved?
Absolutely. So we have the sanitary line that extends up into the elementary school and the ERC building property. That will be relocated around the limits of the future building footprint. We are also removing sanitary and storm sewer lines that served the old elementary school, I believe it was, that used to be connected to this existing facility. We also have notes on all of these removals that connected to what we believe per old drawings and old record drawings and topographic surveys to be abandoned, that those will be inspected prior to removal with either TV testing or dye testing, just to confirm that all the removals are appropriate. We're also removing part of a gas line that connected to the gas main that will be rerouted around the future building footprint as well.
And that's just an old gas service line that serviced the elementary. Is that the way I'm understanding that?
That services the existing, that yes, it did serve the elementary, but it currently services the existing middle school. We have notes on there to coordinate with owners for any sort of stops, temporary stops of service.
Okay.
So again, that just needs to be moved outside the building. We're also removing a water line. There's the hydrant that is wrapped up in some black tarp that sits back there. We're removing that and removing that water line to the main, and we'll cap it. Does that answer your questions, Daryl?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. So this is the surcharge plan for both high school additions. This plan has been sent to Teal Geotech, who was the geotechnical engineer, and they have approved the surcharge limits. This may look a little strange because we're only surcharging a portion of the building. The rest of this was previously surcharged when the high school was built. So the limits match the old drawings and the recommendations of the geotechnical report. There's also a buffer zone around the buildings to protect the existing foundation walls.
This was one of the areas. So how are they going to get to place this surcharge in this site?
So currently we are showing in the summer entrance off of Harry Langdon in the high school entrance to try to preserve just the general cleanliness of the site. We have construction trailers and stockpile materials shown kind of on the bottom right-hand corner. That's what all those rectangles are. And so they would access off that entrance drive. If additional measures need to be taken in the next package that will more greatly impact the school year operations, we can definitely look at it at that time. I think you're muted, Bob.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Bob, that answered your question then? I don't think so. No. Can you type it in the
mute is bottom left.
There we go.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. No, my question was, we've had issues with that drive. I'm very concerned that as we start to haul that kind of dirt across that, we are going to destroy what's left of that driveway and parking that we're going to have to use for the upcoming couple of years. And how are we going to maintain that serviceable driveway?
Hey,
so are you,
hey, Bob, are you advocating bringing it back around behind through the middle school, back behind the track and football field in that way versus coming in through the parking area from the high school?
I think that's got a lot more potential to require less maintenance or during the construction period of those 2 years, between when we start this project and we ultimately complete the auditorium.
So the reason we picked the access that we did, and I'm completely open to discussion on this, was just the state of that road around the backside as it sits now is not in great shape. And the entrance drive off of the high school was a little bit better. But I completely understand if we want to assume we'll have to do some reconstruction anyways, and we'd like to access around the south side of the high school. That can be changed.
Well, if we're gonna have to replace that drive anyway, it's not in that great a shape. Why not go ahead and let the trucks be on it and then we replace it because it needs it anyway?
Yeah,
So
we can
maybe-
absolutely access off of that side if we'd like to.
I have a question for Jeff Carper, because I know sometime last year that he had presented something at one of the board meetings I attended regarding some paving, like 3 phases of paving going on over there for whether it was repairs or replacement. That part I don't remember, but we just said, we know we're going to be tearing up back here. So let's make sure that doesn't get replaced first. But I don't know what the status of the other ones are, or if some of them can bid out this year.
We did have a phase in with concrete. We won't do anything until the auditorium is completed. Whichever way we come, if we come through the high school, we go around to the middle school, it will have an impact on those parking lots and drives.
So what would be the school's preference then?
I would go through the high school, because that along the baseball field and that fence line, it's Jeff has to patch that anyway. So to me, they're just speeding the process up for demolition. It makes it easier.
Yeah, and that's the most direct route too.
I think Caleb had also mentioned that the trucks that are going to be on the operations building site are going to be a lot muddier, and it's all mud over there. So at least if they're using different trucks for hauling here, they can keep it a little bit cleaner.
Well, this is one of the pluses of not having school now. We'll be able to get this done and not have you interfacing.
True.
That could be more true than you realize.
Yeah. So
In
is
the
there
past, we've
consensus on which
Is
road to
next
use?
school year's traffic, not so much, because I think if they bring that dirt in, we're gonna have to have a plan to reestablish that driveway before we start school this fall.
Correct. Can I make a suggestion that I don't mean to keep adding these unit prices, but in the past, we've certainly done it before where you can establish a unit price to remove and replace pavement. And that's probably a good idea to add that into our bid so that, if there's a gaping hole before school starts, we have a mechanism to remove and replace it.
I'd be good with that.
Yep.
Yeah, Joe read my mind. I was wondering if somebody could address that to me. We just need to know that we're in good shape to start school if need be.
Okay, so I'll just have to check with you, Joe, then, like, make sure I know what it is we're removing. I'm pretty sure I know what we're putting back, but I don't know what we're removing.
So are we okay with the accesses as they are now? Or would you like me to reroute around the south side of the track?
As long as we get units to restore what we destroy, whichever way's easiest for the contractor. They'll hold down their costs, hopefully.
Okay.
Yep.
So moving on here, this sheet is just like the last one, it is the surcharge and stockpile plan for the ops building. You can see the gravel drive entrance right there. There's also some erosion control measures around the perimeters to try to maintain our runoff and be good neighbors to the trail. This stockpile is quite a bit larger than the other ones, and you can see it doesn't as closely follow the outline of the building. That's to have the additional dirt required for the rest of the package available when we need it, when we're going to reconstruct the ops center building.
Since you have this map up, just so I know, the city has told us no, there's no way they would allow us to come off of the old East-South Omaha Bridge Road and bring a, yes, right there. We can't put a temporary haul road in there to go across that ditch and save our high school parking lot drive. If
We did already ask them.
Okay, and they just absolutely refuse. No way they'll even negotiate anything at all.
That is correct. However, we are still pursuing that as a permanent way out, but we need to take to the city circulation plan and as a talking point. And that's what Dr. Cano's referred to before, is that we have been working on it about a month, different site circulation patterns and what might make sense. And so I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but that your and that you showed with that 100-foot turnaround, that's going to be like our worst case scenario if we can't get access ultimately down by East South Omaha Bridge Road. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'm bringing that up because, just in case we have audience members, which we may have still a few left, that that's been explored. And I'm just, bringing side dumps in the way 80,000 pounds through the high school parking lot is, I don't like the idea of it. If you want to see what damage those 80,000 pounders will do, take a trip down Bungie Avenue from 275 over to I-29, and you can feel it. So I'm just saying it just to say it.
And thank you for that, because if we are talking about replacing things that are damaged, then we hope to have that damage repaired.
Right.
It's going to be temporary.
Right. And people need to know that we have explored that option. It's, been
correct.
And with the city, that option is almost have been like beating a dead horse, but we beat it. So.
And we may beat it some more.
Hey, if you want some help, let me know. Rainy days, I'm free.
We really are
Okay.
still hopeful that that the city will listen to requests once we have the circulation plan, the optimal plan, which would include that entrance exit. We're hoping that the city will be a little more amenable in talking to us about it.
And it also ties in with the rerouting of the trail and running that past them and trying to solve some of their existing issues that they didn't even realize they had. Some safety issues, so. Okay.
All right, moving on to the utility relocation sheet. This is a water line relocation around the south side of the future building footprint. We're also moving gas structures located on the CTE or near the CTE addition to the back side of the school building. Here is the relocation of the sanitary sewer line, again, around the south side of the school. This is a live line serving upstream structures such as the elementary school and the ERC building. So there are provisions in place to be able to handle that. We're also relocating a gas service line around the north side of the proposed school building.
There's your dog.
What's that
Yeah, sorry.
service line serve?
It serves the backside of the middle school building, and it connects that to the main. We are also, just want to point out that the detail on the bottom of the page is kind of above and beyond what you'd normally see for utilities. That has been run by Teal, and that is under the recommendations of the geotechnical engineer to further kind of protect the utilities and provide a more stable base. Dewatering is also expected for utility trenching throughout this project. And I think, is that our last sheet? We might have one more.
No,
I think that's
it.
it.
That's it.
So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Do we have a SWIP plan at all?
Yes, if we go back 2, 3 sheets. So all those grading notes on the bottom call out the appropriate erosion control measures, whether that be street sweeping or dust control or access, silt fence on the backside, routing the essentially the runoff into the existing drainage pass through the silt fence. This will also be submitted to the city for review, so they will have the opportunity to review and comment. In the future, this will be updated when we release the other packages for the performing arts and CTE editions along with the Ops Center.
Will there be a site observer provided from the engineer?
Yes, we do erosion control inspections.
Okay, thank you. Another thing I would think about is over here where we where we come in and out of the site at the ops building. If we come off right up, I'm moving my mouse like I'm pointing to the picture. But up there by that turnaround, I'd take.
Yeah, scroll up a little.
Yeah,
there we go.
There you go.
Right up there, yeah, I would take a video of that and see what street damage there is, so they can't come back and say we damaged something.
Yeah, I think it all needs videoed, and everything that's going to be driven on needs videoed before any construction starts.
Right. Okay. Nice job.
Do any of the board members have any questions?
No.
Okay, here is the current schedule as published in the bid documents. That is with a pre-bid meeting occurring April 8th, the bid opening April 16th, contract award at the board meeting on April 20th, and assuming all of the contracts and insurance and bonds can be signed off on and submitted by all parties, that they should be able to start within 2 weeks, weather permitting. And that's a big caveat over there because it's pretty low as it is. But so this is just a schedule that we proposed because the high school additions project is going to bid out about a month prior to the operations center. So we're suggesting to the contractor, because we don't know who the contractor is going to be. So if we suggest they start over there, that gets that surcharge ready to go faster, basically. If they end up that they have a large enough crews and enough vehicles, they may work on both sites at once, but it's all under one contract. And then we're having early site prep work complete by August 1st is our goal.
So with that completion date, that gives us, if they don't stage in that, we still have enough overburden time on the auditorium and CTE expansion.
Correct, because, you know, when they put in surcharge, and Lampreneerson can correct me if I misspeak here, but when they put in surcharge, they sometimes will put in a plate there to watch the levels of how much it's compacting. And even though the geotechnical report says, you know, 6 to 8 weeks, it could take 9 to 10 weeks. They just wait for it to reach level till they think it's not going to go any further. And then they clear it for surcharge removal. Is that, did I state that correctly there, Caleb?
Yep.
Yes.
You're right.
Okay. It also gives us some time in case, you know, no one knows what the weather's going to do, but if it rains too much, they may have some downtime and it just can't be avoided. But like I said, the dewatering that we have is in particular for utility trenches, but the contractor, in order to keep working, may have to dewater portions of the site, just surface drainage as well. We're talking groundwater with our dewatering wells. Okay, you can go on to the project manuals in here. I didn't know if there's anything in there you want to review. It's just a lot of words. It doesn't have technical reports. It talks about payments, offsite storage, closeout procedures, what they have to do for temporary, like they're in charge of the temporary fencing, things like that. We have given the contractor on this bid package an option to have a job trailer on site, but we're not requiring it because we know it's already so tight over there and the whole site's being worked on, there may not be room. So we're going to leave that up to them. We are not providing them space for a job office, if you will, in any of the buildings. But if they want to have a job trailer, they'll bring it. But we left it as their option because they feel they can, you know, they're only going to be on site 2 or 3 months. They may choose not to do that.
So Kelly, is this what you're showing us specific to our project? The first drawing or the first page, the second page showed the site. So is this specific to that site, right?
You mean the cover sheet of the specs here?
Yeah.
Can we go back up, Dave?
Yes.
There we go.
So that everything, the documentation, the manual, project manual showing us is specific to the site already. This is ready to go.
I'm not sure I'm understanding your question. I'm sorry. This is really the same drawing that we basically took the image off of the plan set to put on the cover, just to give the contractors an overview.
Scroll down a little bit, please. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah, stop. We went too fast. Okay, so no, come down a little bit. Okay. come down.
Touchy mouse. There we go.
Okay, stop right there. It says the high school press box on document on the right says 95. So
it does, because way back when they first, and this takes us back on a history lesson here, but when the first geotechnical report was done, they combined it
Okay, no worries.
with the press box and the operations site because we didn't have any data there. Well, then, because they had already done one for the Performing Arts Edition, and then so they'd combined it with the press box.
Okay,
Just because it was requested from them at the same time. So we have told the contractor to disregard all the references to the press box. That project is complete. And then after that time, the CTE edition was initiated and there was no geotechnical information over there. So they actually had to go back and do borings over there, back behind the woods shop. And so they provided a supplemental report for that and updated recommendations. And then, of course, the Operations Transportation Center geotechnical report is a standalone document that's only pertains to that site.
okay, thank you. I just saw the high school press box.
I know.
It went by fast, I'm going.
Well, and I didn't even want to list that, but that is the title of the report. And there is information in both that and the updated recommendations. So,
No worries, thank you.
yep,
Good eye, Randy.
yep.
And we outlined that the area B is, there's nothing to be done in that area.
Correct. It's on the drawings and also on the cover of the project manual. And so this is the last document we wanted to review, which is the estimate of cost. This is for just the early site prep package. We're going to work to extract the numbers from this because part of it is associated with the high school additions budget. Part of it will be associated with the operations center budget. But this, since we're doing both site preps under the first package, this early package, this is the combined cost for both the sites. We just have to divvy that out between the two budgets ultimately. So you can see that we have, whoops, sorry. You can see that it does have quantities that are, that they're basing the different units on and unit pricing. I don't know if you can even see the right-hand side there because people's pictures are on top of it, but we also have included, and I want to talk just briefly about dewatering wells. Again, those are to control groundwater from coming up. And we already know that sanitary sewer is in the groundwater or, well in the groundwater, let's say. So since they should be able to accomplish that utility work in approximately 3 to 4 weeks, we are anticipating approximately 3 wells for a 1-month period. And they're not cheap. It's about $12,000 a month because they're going to run 24/7. So once the contractor is on board, I mean, he is responsible for getting the dewatering engineer who actually has to design the wells. There's lots of rules around those because they have to do with groundwater. And so they may say you only need 2 wells, or they might say you need 5 wells. We don't really know because it's part of their design. So they'll know that, they should know that before they bid.
What's your deepest excavation? Is it going to be on the sanitary sewer line?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the depth on that line?
That line is very shallow. We're actually going to have to berm a little bit above that. But per the geotech report, we are going to encounter groundwater on that excavation.
Okay, but how deep is that actual sewer line? Is it, we're talking 20 feet, 20 feet? Deep?
No, closer to 5.
Oh, 5 foot deep?
Yep, 5 to 9, I believe.
When were the borings done?
The dates were on that table of contents.
November of 19.
We're on.
So the winter.
Last November?
Yep.
They
Well,
were done in the fall, so we know the water table will be higher in the spring.
yeah, but see, last September and October, we had 6 weeks of extremely wet weather, which did impact our groundwater level at that time, even in November and December.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just, if the sewer line's at 5 feet, and since it's been relatively dry this spring,
So
I need to-
I was just out there last week, and there's standing water in the ditch on the south side of the property, which is about 4 feet below finished floor of the middle school. And so that puts you right in line with where sewer is going to be. And if that little swale is any indication, we're probably going to be hitting water the whole time. We could have a drier summer.
Right.
I mean, it's your guess is as good as mine, but right now we definitely anticipate groundwater.
And come May 4th through June, we could have plenty of rain.
Yes, we could.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
On the
So you
left,
can,
go ahead.
I was just going to finish up by saying you can see here that we are still carrying some contingency for whatever, if we find buried brick or we need to use some money for fixing some paving or whatever, we are still carrying a 10% contingency in this estimate. Now, keep in mind, there's no contingency probably in the contractor's bid, but this is just our best estimate based on the known conditions.
I'm just going to add real quick that item number 4 on that screen, that is half your cost. Okay. So
Dirt, yeah.
dirt, I'm hopeful, I know the operator down on 192nd Street, just south of South Omaha Bridge Road. I'm going to reach out to him and see if they're getting all the spoils from the interstate. If it's suitable and the haul is close, I mean, the closer we can get our borrow source, the cheaper that yardage comes down. So I'll start asking groups that we know and like to look at this project and try and bring that item number 4 unit price down. So
I had a question on the removing the hydrant. Is a different one going to be installed at a time, or do we not need that anymore?
We have proper coverage on there's another hydrant back there. There's one on Harry Langdon, and there's another one near the entrance on East South Omaha Bridge Road.
And then when we have final design for the operations building, that will indicate where there's going to be other hydrants. And the estimate cost on that building demolition is based on a demolition contractor actually going to and through the building. So we're pretty comfortable with that number there.
No, I'm not asking about the number. Where is the hydrant that is going to be removed? Is it over by Central? Is it over by the high school? Where is it being removed?
Sorry, I apologize for the confusion. It is by the ops center. You can see it if you look out there. It's covered in sheeting. It doesn't look like it's been operational in a good while. If you go to the removal sheet, 2 sheets prior, you can see where that is. It is just on the bottom side of the paving removal, just about dead center in the page. Zoom in there. Oh.
Okay, thank you.
R13.
Yep, right in the middle.
Do any of the board members have any questions?
No.
No.
I see that we have seating in there. I mean, since we're sort of at the start of the construction, what are we envisioning that we're going to reseed before we would do in this stage of our, project?
Are we required to reseed that, Caleb?
Per erosion control, yes, that'd be temporary seed. You're technically supposed to seed after 14 days, I believe. Don't quote me on that.
You're correct. Yeah, if we have anything undisturbed for 14 days, that'll probably allow us to seed and mulch some areas so that we just cover the fringes of our construction site from avoiding any further runoff. So it won't be a permanent condition. It'll just kind of be another erosion control measure. So.
Is there anything else? Are there any questions from the live broadcast yet?
Josh says no.
All right. Eric, do you have anything else that we need to discuss?
No, I'm glad you said what you said. I was going to just make sure that we do maybe announce for those that are on the live broadcast that if we were in a public session, we would be asking now for comments. And so just to encourage everybody that it's that time in the meeting, you could submit at any point in time through the chat, but we just want the people that are on with us to know that now's the time to submit before we move on to our action item. I know Josh has been monitoring it. Says he has put in reminders, and now we're down to only one viewer. I think we had 3 earlier, so I think we're good to go on.
Before we close the hearing. Okay, hearing nothing from the board members, we will close the public hearing for the specifications, proposed plans for the upcoming construction costs for the site prep package. And we'll go on with our agenda to comments and suggestions. We hadn't heard anything from anyone viewing. So now we will go to action items. I would need a motion to approve the specifications for the proposed plans, form of contract and estimated costs for the LCCSD site prep package.
I would say as presented.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
That was Brian.
No, that was Bob.
Bob?
I'll second it.
And Brian second. Any discussion? All right, vote please.
You're muted, Andrew.
All right, Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Portray,
I'm going to vote yes, but I would ask that the engineers and the architects visit that 10 to 20 degrees, just to have some flexibility to see what that looks like.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge.
And to repeat what Randy said, visit the 10, 15, 20 degrees. With that, yes.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. Is there anything else, Eric?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you, BVH, and we will need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Andrea, did you get that?
Yep.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and do the motion. Would you please take the roll?
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Portray,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wiley.
We're voting on
To adjourn.
adjourning the meeting.
Yep.
Why would I do that? Yes.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. I just wanted to go through that because it's kind of hard to do all the ayes and nays and I guess that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do the thumbs up next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone.